welcome back to the Conspiracy Couple Podcast. I'm Marissa.
And I'm Ethan.
And we just want to wish you a Merry Christmas, because this episode is going to be coming out right before Christmas.
The week before.
The week before.
Well, a day late. But the week
A day late, but a week before.
4 days before? 5 days before? Oh, whatever.
5.
Before.
4. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. We do want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. The littlest conspiracy cat is out and about. She is, she's foraging, really. She's kind of foraging.
She's being a kitten.
Yeah, she's being a kitten. I say foraging. So if you hear a loud noise, it might be Nova just kind of doing her thing.
Well, if there's an abrupt cut,
it
might be because we have to stop her from doing something.
Yeah. So there's that. You also might notice, if you're watching us on YouTube, change of background.
Because it's Christmas time.
Merry
also,
Christmas.
if this is on YouTube.
If this is
because
on YouTube.
Apologies to those of you who are subscribed on YouTube. Hopefully you also are subscribed to other places. Because the last episode ended up not getting put on YouTube. I'm going to just try and get it on in like an audio form. Essentially what happened is I'm having issues with Adobe right now. And it just wasn't... I'll spare the details for those of you who don't care, but I just have not been able to get the last video to work. I don't know why. I've tried it multiple times, whatever. I'm hoping we're not going to have that issue again with this one. So hopefully this one will be on. This one for sure will be on as audio, and I'm going to try and get our last one on YouTube as audio as well. Hopefully this one will be on as video, but if not, I'm going to get the audio on for sure.
Yeah. And if you are listening and you're super techie and you're like, oh, I know exactly what could be like a great tool for...
If you know Adobe Premiere Pro,
yeah,
hit me up, help me out, because I need it.
Our DMs are open.
Hopefully I don't need it.
Speaking of, it's time to get our normal housekeeping stuff out of the way. Instagram, you should follow us, Conspiracy Couple. We post pictures of updates of the show, sometimes the occasional photo of ourselves.
Mostly the cats. Mostly
the conspiracy cats, because they are the cutest thing in this entire world, and that's just on period. So I will not be hearing any disagreement, but I'm also partial because I'm their mother. We also have Twitter, CCPodcast22. And we also have an email, which is conspiracycouple22@gmail.com.
Also have a YouTube.
We also have a YouTube. That is Conspiracy Couple Podcast. So you should go ahead and subscribe on there. And we have 3 videos with our faces.
Hopefully 4 and 5.
Hopefully 4 and 5 in the next little bit.
The crazy thing, the tough thing is I created an intro card and an outro card that are actually really cool looking, but it never got posted, so no one's seen it.
I have no idea what that means, but I'm really excited to see it.
There's a graphic, and if the last podcast goes up audio only, that graphic will be like the whole thing, and hopefully you'll have seen this before this part, or it's up right now, depending on if the video works.
We'll see.
Well,
stay tuned.
Hoping.
So yeah, that's our housekeeping. We are super excited because we are officially on Christmas break.
Oh yeah, we are.
Yes. I am officially
We both get Christmas break.
I haven't had a Christmas break since 2016.
I work at a college, so I always get Christmas break.
I don't. So I'm pretty tickled. And I submitted my final assignment of the quarter. And I was like, if I don't submit it now, I will overthink until 2022. So I'm going to submit it now. So now we're both on Christmas break. We have 2 weeks. And I think that I always say I'm going to be productive, but I really just binge watch shows. Anyways, Merry Christmas. That was our intro. Anything else, Ethan? Nope. Okay. Well, we are going to just dive right in. I say dive right in all the time, but this one kind of has to do with water, so it kind of fits. All right. We're going to get into our main topic of the week, which is another super interesting, mysterious disappearance case. Ooh.
Okay.
Spooky. So, looking at our podcast analytics, I noticed that you guys really seem to like the mysterious disappearance episodes. Like our Malaysian airline flight disappearance one. That one has had the most downloads of any episode we've posted, which is really interesting. But
Okay, because it's a pretty recent thing, though, too.
yeah. So I was like, maybe that's part of it, but maybe it's because y'all like the mysterious disappearances.
Maybe.
And if that's the case, then I've got a doozy for you today. We are going to be discussing the ghost ship, the Mary Celeste. Ooh. All right. And
Are you going to do that the whole time?
Yeah. No, I'm not. And the mystery surrounding it. So, Ethan, as always, do you know anything about the Mary Celeste?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it?
Never
Okay.
heard of it.
I'm going to be transparent. I also had never heard of it until I was researching, and this is a glimpse into my research method. Go on Google, type in mysterious disappearances. This popped up, and I was like, okay. Clicked on it, intrigued. So spooky, so intriguing. So we're going to dive into it. So the mystery surrounds the boat as well, but it mainly surrounds the 10 people on board who mysteriously disappeared.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to start out with just 2 dates, what happened, and then we'll get into the theories.
Okay.
So the first date is November 7th, 1872. And that is when the Mary Celeste departs from the New York harbor for a voyage to Genoa, Italy.
What kind is it? Is it like a passenger boat? Is it like a cargo ship?
It's a cargo ship.
Oh.
Or it's a merchant ship. So
both.
no, because a merchant ship, you would be transporting goods, but it wasn't like a...
Do the merchants not go with the ship?
No.
Oh. I
So-
know nothing about boats.
You know, I feel like when I think of cargo ships, I think of like those big boats that are all stuck in the harbor in California right now.
But this was when?
It's 1872.
So I don't think they looked like that.
It was quite small. Well, small for what it would be now, but we'll get into that later.
Made out of wood, probably.
Huh?
Probably made out of wood.
It was made out of wood.
Because it was 1872.
Yeah.
Metal hadn't been invented yet.
I don't think that's true. I feel like that's very much not true. Anyways, so the ship departs November 7th, 1872, and there are 10 people on board when it left. The captain, Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and 7 crew members. And the boat also contained 1,700 pounds of industrial alcohol that was going to Italy, that was going to be used for things like surgeries, sterilization, and other non-drinking purposes. Remember that.
So it's
non-drinking alcohol.
So it's like disinfectant alcohol.
It's like,
Cleaning alcohol.
essentially, it's alcohol that's not safe to drink.
It's cleaning alcohol.
Yeah. It's not like distilled.
So it's cleaning alcohol.
It's not cleaning alcohol.
It is.
Okay, it's cleaning alcohol. So, this is a super routine voyage.
What? Did you say Subaru?
Super routine. This is a Subaru voyage.
I thought you said Subaru.
The Subaru model.
I thought you said Subaru Teen Voyage.
It was the Subaru model, yeah. No, it was super routine
Okay.
for the time.
Ugh.
So, November 7th, the ship leaves.
Okay.
December 5th, 1872, is when another ship, the British De Gracia, spotted the Mary Celeste while they were on their own journey, following pretty much the same route that the Mary Celeste had followed. And they're in the same area that the Mary Celeste would have been going in. So this is a little bit less than a month later. The De Gracia is going along and they see the Mary Celeste.
Sorry, you probably said this. Where are they going from into?
They're going from New York to Italy.
Gotcha.
And a lot of people thought that the captain of the De Gracia was good friends with Briggs. And remember, Briggs is the captain of the Mary Celeste.
Yeah.
And that the two of them had actually gone out to eat together before the Mary Celeste left.
Okay.
So, at the time when they spotted the Mary Celeste, it was about 400 miles east of the Azores, which is an area kind of near Portugal. It's a group of islands near Portugal.
Okay.
And the captain of the De Gracia, who was a man named Morehouse, saw the boat and noticed instantly that it just looked off. He didn't know at the time that it was Mary Celeste. He just sees a boat. And he just is... something's off about it. So members of his boat made multiple attempts to get in contact with the people on that boat. And when no one responded, Morehouse sent a group of 3 of his crew members to go board that boat, that boat that they saw, and investigate what was going on. So that's when they learned that it's the Mary Celeste. And when they get on, they see that there's nobody on board. There was no sign that there had been any sort of a struggle. But the only thing was the sails had been partially raised and had some minimal damage, almost as if the crew members had been in the middle of doing really routine maintenance work for the sails, and then they had been interrupted. So the cargo was also completely intact. Remember, there's 1,700 pounds of alcohol, and only 9 of the barrels that had carried the alcohol were empty.
Okay.
But in comparison, that's not very much. And there was very, very minimal damage to the boat itself. But not damage that was so severe that the crew would have had to make an emergency exit. It was just minimal. Also, all of the navigational tools on the boat were completely intact and functional. She gave up. If you're watching on YouTube, Nova just tried to climb on Ethan's lap and then she...
No, if you're not watching on YouTube, because if you're watching on YouTube, you probably could have seen it.
Yeah, she just kind of gave up, like, in the middle of trying to climb on. Yeah. So, yeah, she's...
I'm glad, because she was about to use my legs to pull
like,
herself up.
So, kind of strange right off the bat. They also find the log. Every ship has a log. Remember when I tried to make that a thing in the Philadelphia Experiment episode?
Every ship has a log. Yeah,
every
you know
ship
what
has
they
a log.
say. Every ship has a log.
You know what by they, I mean me. I was like, we're going to make this into merch. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt.
Everyone's been saying
I'm going to put that on a sticker. Every ship has a log. So now...
Anyway, so they found the log.
They found the log. And the log, the last day that was recorded in it was early in the morning on November 25th.
What day was the boat found again?
December 5th.
Oh, so like a month. Almost. 3 weeks?
What?
You
10 days.
November...
25th. 25th. And that was 10 days before the discovery.
Okay.
So that log entry said that at that time, they were about 6 miles off of the coast of Santa Maria, which was an island in the Azores. And this led them to believe that whatever had happened on or around that date. And none of the logs were in any way indicative that anything had gone wrong prior to the disappearance, or that anything was out of the ordinary or amiss on board during the entire voyage. So, as I said, the strangest thing was that none of the passengers were there. No sign of them. And the lifeboat that was on the boat was also missing. And the compass had been ripped out of the boat.
So it appears as if the entire crew just left.
Just left.
In the middle of just gone.
The crew, Briggs, his wife, and their daughter. The strange thing was there was still about 6 months worth of food and supplies completely intact on the boat.
Interesting.
And as I said, the ship was undamaged except for a few feet of water in the hold. But again, that wasn't enough that they would need to make an emergency exit.
Yeah.
So the evidence seemed to suggest that the departure was done in an orderly manner rather than a panicked emergency evacuation.
Mm-hmm. It's like they just got up and left.
They just left.
Okay, we're out.
And we're going to get more into the investigation, but in the investigation into what was being called a ghost ship, it was determined that no foul play was behind their disappearance. So the boat was brought back to land by the members of the Dei Gratia and was eventually sold to new owners. Now, this is real spooky. So the captain of the Dei Gratia, he has a few members that have come on board and are looking around. So then he says, okay, we're going to bring it back. We're going to bring the boat back to land. So when the members of the DeGracia who were bringing the boat back were on that journey, they noticed that while they were traveling, a thick mist surrounded the Mary Celeste. And the interesting thing was, it did not engulf the DeGracia, even though they were following the same path, going to the same place, but was seemingly drawn only to the Mary Celeste.
That's odd.
And this was apparently so frightening to the crew members that when they got on land, they refused to speak about what had happened when the mist was engulfing them because they were so scared. And nobody knows what happened except that there was the mist that just mysteriously came upon them and then left.
Very strange.
Mm-hmm. So, after the discovery, the boat would continue on under a series of new captains for 12 years, and it eventually met its end in an intentional crash in Haiti in an attempted insurance fraud. It was not
a good way.
Not a successful insurance fraud. Yeah. I'll just say that. So, interesting enough, the history of the Mary Celeste is kind of a thing of mystery, too. So, the boat was originally named the Amazon, and its name was eventually changed to the Mary Celeste. And its maiden voyage as the Amazon was May 18th, 1861, and it left from what is now Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia?
Nova Scotia. She's like so unbothered. And the boat was 100 feet long and 25 feet wide. And the first voyage, people described it as kind of uneventful. It almost seemed that the boat refused to move from its post. Like, they were trying to get the boat to move, and it was like,
feel like
try me again tomorrow, I'm not into it. But interestingly, the very first captain of the Amazon died from a very sudden bout of pneumonia during the maiden voyage. And after this, the boat had a number of crashes. It had a crash with another boat in the English Channel, and multiple other little skirmishes and mishaps that led to terrible damage to the boat. So the original investor couldn't afford to have it fixed or moved from the rocks that it had crashed into, and transferred ownership to someone else named John Howard Beatty, who sold the boat to an American who eventually fixed it up and named it the Mary Celeste.
After what?
I don't know.
After your coworker and my best friend's girlfriend?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, in 1870 they were like, yeah. So the American who bought the boat was unable to pay the loans that he had used to buy the boat, and it was seized by loan officers. So then the loan officers sold the boat to a man from New York, where Briggs became the captain of the boat. And basically that's a lot of words to say that the boat passed hands a lot in a really short period of time. And some people thought that the boat always had this bad luck or a curse attached to it. So Benjamin Briggs, he was the captain of the fateful voyage, was a longtime captain, and at the time of the disappearance, he had been a full-time captain for 18 years. And so he was very experienced. He was known for being incredibly responsible as a captain and a sailor, and he was also known for being very devoted to his Christianity. So we'll get in that will play a role.
Oh.
So now we've kind of talked about the history, we've talked about the event, and now we're going to talk about what some people think might have happened.
The meat.
The meat, if you will. Yes.
The meat.
The meat. Yes. Everyone.
The meat.
The meat. Some of the theories. So the first theory is that Briggs was responsible. That he is the reason everyone was missing.
And none of these people were ever, found, right?
Nobody knows what happened to them.
Okay.
So, it's not like they turned up in some island somewhere and were like, hey, we're okay. People don't know what happened to them. It's like Lost Colony of Roanoke level. Okay, so we have a couple different theories of how Briggs was responsible. So the first is that he abandoned the boat on purpose. However, the main problem was not only was he the captain of the boat, he was also an investor in the boat. So if he abandoned the boat, he wouldn't have received any money from the boat.
But why would he abandon the boat?
That's the question. There's like people.
And where did everybody else go once he abandoned the boat?
They all went with him.
In the middle of the ocean?
They had the lifeboat.
The entire crew fit on the lifeboat?
Yeah.
How big was the crew?
There were a total of 10 people, and one of those people was a 2-year-old kid.
Oh, so throw the two. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Cut that out.
So.
Wait, okay, so all 10 of them got on the lifeboat and just left?
And just left. But the
With
thing
no food
is.
not taking food or anything with them?
No. But the thing is, he was an investor. So they're like, will he abandon the boat? I'm like, why?
I mean.
There is the question of whether or not the boat was cursed or had some bad luck attached to it.
But this wasn't his first time sailing the boat.
Right.
I had to think. I was about to say driving us. That doesn't seem right.
It was his first time getting behind the wheel and driving the boat.
It was not his first time. Right?
I don't think it was.
He'd captained the boat before.
Mm-hmm.
So I would feel like a curse or something. Like if this was his first voyage, then yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of
curses don't make sense though.
Well, they don't. No,
curses aren't going to be like, oh, it's your 5th time, so you're okay now.
But it's if they wanted to like leave or do something else or whatever, like escape, why didn't they just take the boat with them? Why did they leave the boat?
I don't know.
Because they're much more. If they're like escaping to somewhere, you're much more likely to get there.
Because if foul play was involved, then nobody would have made money on the boat, off the boat, anyways. So if you wanted to abandon the boat,
make money off of what?
So we'll get into it, but under maritime law at the time, if a boat was abandoned, the people who found the boat and brought it back, who recovered the boat successfully, would be able to get the insurance money from the boat.
Okay.
So, the question...
Wait, the people who find the boat get the money?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because they found it, and they recovered it.
So they get it's a finder's fee?
It's a finder's fee, essentially.
Okay. Interesting.
But then there is also the possibility, remember, that Morehouse, the captain of the Dei Gratia, was good friends with Briggs.
But Briggs is never seen again.
Well, maybe he went into hiding in the Azores and Morehouse gave him the money.
Seems very dramatic. Ow! It seems like a very dramatic way to pull off insurance fraud. And how did he convince all 10 other people to do it too?
Well, one of them was a child.
Okay, how did he convince... And
one of them was his wife.
Okay, so how did he convince the 8 crew members to do it?
Maybe saying they get a cut. So I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Because truthfully, I don't believe that theory.
Okay.
I don't believe that one.
Fair.
But just a little bit of forewarning. I don't really know if I believe any of these.
Okay.
So some people think that he ended up getting into some kind of like religious rage or delusion that led to him killing everybody.
But there's no sign of struggle.
Exactly. So this theory comes from the fact that he was a really devout Christian. He was known for studying his Bible all the time, and he liked this particular passage in Jonah that talked about how angry Jonah was. Remember when Jonah's like, I wish you would just kill me?
Mm-hmm.
When he I think it's in chapter 4. Yeah, chapter 4,
You know, chapter 4.
Of the Bible. No, I'm just kidding. So, I don't really feel like there's that much backing to this theory, except, he was known to be really devout in his faith. He got into religious delusion and killed everyone.
Yeah.
I know a lot of really devout Christians, and that's typically not
the
result of studying the Bible.
There would be evidence.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I said. Wouldn't there be some sort of evidence if he had gone crazy and murdered everyone?
Yeah.
There was no blood found on board. There was no evidence of a murder. And the historian who suggested this theory actually spoke with a lot of surviving members of his family. And they were like, definitely not. He was not a violent person. He was really mild-mannered. He would have never done that.
Yeah. No, I don't
And
think so.
after he spoke with them, he retracted the theory.
Fair.
But some people also think that he could have been influenced by the curse or the dark energy that surrounded the boat, and that influenced him to kill everyone.
Again, though, no evidence of people having died.
Right, I feel like there would have been a struggle.
It's more likely to me that everybody just up and left
Yeah.
the boat.
Yeah. Again, I don't believe that Briggs was involved, but if you guys think he was involved, let us know and let us know why. Another big theory is that pirates were behind it. So, some people think that the lack of damage is indicative that pirates boarded the boat and forced everyone off. The question is, why would they just steal a lifeboat?
And then not take anything on the boat.
Exactly. Pirates were known for stealing valuable things. There was plenty of valuable things on the boat still when it was discovered.
Yeah.
So why would the pirates be like, okay, everybody off. Everybody off.
Haha, we've got your lifeboat. Get pranked.
Like, what? Then what?
No.
Like, there was a lot of salvageable cargo on board. And all they took was a
Or they
lifeboat.
could have just taken the boat.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So one of the videos I watched talked about Riffian pirates, which is a group of pirates. They're an Arab-speaking group of people from what would be now Morocco. And their area was historically very impoverished, which led a lot of them to turn to piracy by boarding boats, capturing the ships, or raiding European coastal towns and selling people into slavery for the Ottoman Empire. However, according to historians, the Riffian pirates, like many other pirates, would have thoroughly looted the boat.
They wouldn't just take the people.
Right. They wouldn't have just taken the people. They wouldn't have left. All the navigational tools were still functional.
Right.
They would have, gone.
There also probably would have been signs of a struggle.
Right. Pirates board the boat and they're like, okay, everyone, single file line.
You got us.
Single file line. We're going to have you just kind of get lined up here.
We're not going to take any of the valuables or any of the food. We just want you.
Right. Okay, everyone, line up nice and quietly, and I see you out of line. Okay, onto the boat.
If I see you out of line, I will be very disappointed.
I'm going to give you a very stern talking to. Yeah, that's exactly how I think it went down.
I will wag my finger.
A lot of people also thought that maybe the crew from the DeGracia were the pirates, and that they pirated the ship, forced everyone off in order to steal the boat and make money off of its discovery.
That makes more sense.
That does make more sense.
And you come up with this story about the mist and it's crazy.
Here's the thing. If they would have brought the boat back and it was like destroyed, like there had been a struggle, they wouldn't have gotten the money.
Right.
Exactly.
The only issue with that is, I guess it assumes that none of the people survived.
I think that's kind of the assumption we're working with here.
But then we also have to work with the fact that the two captains were friends, and that's kind of like, maybe, but that seems to be the most believable to me.
And then I think we have to contend with the fact that they killed a literal child to get money. Yeah. But people are evil, so...
Yeah.
The
if
evidence...
the two captains weren't friends, that would be a lot more believable.
Right. The evidence for... They followed the same path that the Mary Celeste followed and could have set a trap to force the crew off and take the money from recovering the boat. The evidence against. The De Gracia left 8 days after the Mary Celeste.
Right, so how would they have been able to set up a trap?
Was a much slower boat than the Mary Celeste. So it would have been impossible for them to catch up.
Right.
And, beat them and set this trap unless they had another boat working with them. I don't know. So this was investigated for 3 months.
It doesn't seem likely.
This was investigated for 3 months, and no ruling of foul play was passed down.
It doesn't make sense that they would be able to set a trap if they left after.
Yes. Like I said, according to maritime law at the time, if a boat was abandoned, the people who salvaged it were entitled to the insurance money. Mm-hmm. However, the De Gracia only received 1/6 of what they would have So they did not get the full amount.
Why?
That suggested that some people still had their doubts about their culpability.
About their what?
Their responsibility, culpability. So their guilt. But you'd think that if there was questions about their guilt, they'd give them nothing.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
As opposed to 1/6. I don't know. But some people thought that suggested that the investigators were like, we can't say you did it, but we can't say you didn't do it. You know?
Is there a record why they only got that much?
I'm sure there is, but I didn't find it.
So we're going off there isn't.
There's no... If I didn't find it
record.
in my cursory video search, then it didn't happen.
If we're not saying it happened, it didn't happen.
Yeah. So, another sub-theory into the pirate theory is that the boat was pirated by the crew members of the Mary Celeste.
But they didn't take anything.
Okay, but we're going to get into that. So, some people think that the crew members might have gotten a little tart on the alcohol, considering that there was 9 barrels that were empty, and this caused them to stage a mutiny. And suspicions are thrown to 2 people in particular, German brothers Boy and Volkert Lorenzen. And this is really due to the fact that their belongings weren't found on the boat with everyone else's. The reason for this was that their belongings had actually been lost earlier in the year in another shipwreck.
So they didn't have belongings anymore.
No, they had no replacement belongings. So their belongings are not there. Everyone thinks, aha, it's because they got on the lifeboat with their stuff and they left.
Well, what happened to everybody else?
They killed them.
And why did they leave then?
To escape. With the one,
And
with
where's
the compass, the one thing that they took.
Where's the evidence of people being killed?
None evidence. So the thing is, the alcohol on board was denatured, which meant that it was not safe for drinking.
Right, which means it would have killed you if you drank it.
Correct. Do you remember at the very beginning of COVID when you couldn't buy hand sanitizer at the grocery store?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, when they were sold out, you mean.
When they were sold out.
Yeah.
So, for people listening, I worked at a doctor's office for 4 years. So, at the beginning of COVID, we could not stock hand sanitizer. So, the distilleries in town brought in huge containers of denatured alcohol that was basically to be used as hand sanitizer. I remember making a joke to my boss that said, wow, look at all this booze we have in the back. You could really do some damage back there. And she said, if you do, you will go blind.
They drank the alcohol, went blind, fell off the boat.
Fell off the boat.
Somehow got into the lifeboat and...
They pushed the lifeboat off and they fell and they missed. But then no one steered the lifeboat. And then pirates took the lifeboat. Solved.
And something happened to the baby.
Solved it.
We have no idea what happened to the baby, though.
We don't know what happened to Sophia. Sophia, if you're listening.
Yeah, she would be long dead.
She'd be very
Even
old.
if she survived.
She'd be quite old.
She would be dead. She'd not be old.
So, yeah, you definitely shouldn't drink that. And if they were used to carrying that cargo, they would know, if I drink this, it's not going to go well for me.
Right.
I will not get turned. I will die.
Or at least lose my sight.
Exactly. Which is pretty important if you're, like, navigating a boat.
Yeah.
Also, we'll talk about this a little bit more later. Those 9 barrels, they were in a different material. They're a different kind of wood than the other barrels. That wood was more prone to leakage over time than the other barrels. So that does not necessarily imply that someone drank all 9 barrels. And I don't think, like, I'm going to go crazy here and say, I don't think that 9 adults could drink 9 barrels of denatured alcohol and be okay. Like, you would be drinking a lot.
They would have died before the 9th barrel, well before. Probably they would have died after the 1st barrel.
Yeah.
Because it's probably like several gallons of alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't be doing too hot.
No.
That's all I'm going to say. So another theory is that everyone fled the boat because of a miscalculation that Briggs made and that it sent them into a huge panic. So some of the videos I watched went way more into depth about this. So if you want more boat knowledge, we'll have those videos in the description box. So basically, one of the tools that every boat would have is something called a sounding rod. So the job of the sounding rod was to determine the amount of water that might be in the deeper places of the boat that you couldn't just walk down and look at. So the sounding rod on the Mary Celeste was found in a really strange place, which made the crew of the De Gracia think that the rod itself was faulty and that it had, told the crew that there was a significant amount of water, and that it caused them to think the boat was going to sink and that they needed to jump ship. So when a crew member from the De Gracia used their ship's sounding rod to see how much water was in the boat, they found that there was about 3.5 feet.
So not much.
Which was not enough water that an experienced sailor like Briggs would think that they needed to abandon the boat. So they think that could be it. Also, if there was a big change in barometric pressure in the area, it could affect the readings of the sounding rod and make the captain think that the boat was taking on too much water and that it would sink. And
it's not really on Briggs, though, then. It's kind of on the equipment.
Yeah. So the reason was probably because at the time of the disappearance, according to the logs, they were about 120 miles off course. So they were not where they were supposed to be. And this has been confirmed by researchers who modeled the events and, recreated the voyage based on the logs. So basically, the sounding rod was broken, told them they were taking on too much water, and the captain was like, we need to get out of here before we sink.
But you said that it didn't appear as though they left in a hurry earlier.
Right.
And if you're afraid your boat's going to sink, you're probably going to leave in a hurry.
Well, I feel like boats like that probably don't go down like they did in the Titanic. Where it's like,
right,
you tilt and then you're just like...
And if they were like, oh, the boat's taking on too much water, maybe it wasn't like, oh my gosh, the boat's going to like sink.
In the
right
next
now,
5 minutes.
They're like, it's kind of going to sink before we make it, so we should just cut our losses and get out now.
Yeah.
But then you would have thought they would have taken food.
Right.
And they didn't take any food. They didn't take any of their stuff.
And you would have thought that they would have like written a letter or something.
And put it in a bottle.
Exactly.
But this is the most believable of any of the theories so far.
Exactly. It's the most believable. But then it also implies that they were lost at sea. Because you would think that if they made it to shore, that they would have written a letter or something and been like, hey, here we are.
Yeah.
Like, we're fine.
Maybe.
So that's, I think, the most believable. But at the same time, I feel like it doesn't...
It doesn't fully answer
100% fit.
Yeah.
Another theory is a sea quake. So...
A sea quake.
A sea quake. So the area where the boat was found was really like a seismic hotspot, and there was a huge amount of earthquake activity there. And we do have records that indicate there was an 8.5 level earthquake, or seaquake, I guess, that occurred in the weeks following the discovery of the Mary Celeste.
Mm-hmm.
So this creates the possibility that prior to the seaquake, there was these, I guess, foreshocks. I'm trying to remember. We don't get a lot of earthquakes here in Washington. I just remember the last time, like, they have little mini earthquakes that, like, lead up to it. And after. And so there's the possibility that there was a forequake, and 8.5 is a pretty big earthquake.
The scale goes to 10, so...
Yeah. So you'd think that the foreshocks would be kind of big as well.
Right.
And perhaps those weren't recorded. It rocked the boat, caused the alcohol bottles to break open, spill out the alcohol, which would, of course, leave quite a smell. Alcohol is very flammable. And that could have caused Briggs to think, oh my goodness, we're going to have a gas explosion. The boat's going to explode. We need to get out of here.
But then, I mean, couldn't they have seen that the boat didn't? And then they go back to the boat?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like...
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's a little...
Yeah. And like I said, they were made, the 9 bottles that were empty. Barrels that were empty were made of a different material, and they were more prone to just natural leakage over time. And the rest of the ship was normal. So if there was a sea quake, you'd think that, I mean, when there's an earthquake, stuff is flying off the shelves. Stuff is being destroyed. You'd think
there would be more damage than minor damage.
Right, you'd think that it'd be like, oh yeah, there was a sea quake.
Yeah.
So Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, author of the Sherlock Holmes series, was quite intrigued by this disappearance. And he wrote a story about what he suggested may have happened to the crew. So in this story, he suggests the disappearances were due to the work of a vengeful ex-slave, and that this man snuck onto the boat, killed everyone on board, threw them overboard, and then escaped on the lifeboat.
Interesting.
Now, he was like, this is fiction.
Yeah.
He said, this is fiction, this is not real. But people were like, it is real. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle said so. He's a sir. So, yeah.
He's a sir.
He's a sir.
Everything sirs do is good.
I don't know if they actually said that, but...
They implied it.
They implied it for sure. But some people latched onto that and were like, oh yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Now, we have the theory you've all been waiting for.
Aliens.
The paranormal theory.
Aliens.
Let's
go.
So the first obvious paranormal theory is that the crew was abducted by aliens.
Obviously. They also took the lifeboat for some reason.
Yeah. The aliens were like, we gotta get us one of these.
And the aliens siphoned the 9 barrels of alcohol for testing.
Yeah. And aliens can drink it and they won't go blind because they're aliens.
Well, they didn't. I said for testing, not for drinking. Just because the alcohol was taken doesn't mean it was drank.
You can test it in different ways.
Anyway.
So there's no evidence for this theory.
There's no evidence for...
There's no evidence against it either.
I guess.
So there's that. So aliens abducted them. Another
sense.
Is that they were attacked by a sea monster.
But there's no damage.
Okay.
So an attack.
This one is actually
damage.
Interesting, but it doesn't. It's interesting. Let me just get into sea monster facts.
The sea monster attacked the boat, took all the crew,
and then fixed the boat.
and then took the lifeboat and left.
They were like, I was always taught you leave things better than you find them, so I'll take these people, I'll kill them, but don't worry, I'll fix up your boat. I was a Girl
How's that leaving it better than you found it?
I was a Girl Scout, and we were always told you leave things better than you found them.
How is that leaving it better than you found it?
Well, they fixed it.
But they killed the crew.
Well,
they didn't leave the crew better than they found it.
That's true. They really need to get back into learning their Girl Scout responsibilities and pledge. Girl
Scout sea monster.
Yeah,
Girl Scout Kraken.
Girl Scouts of deep sea.
Anyway. Go ahead.
So some people think that this monster
tell more about this stupid theory.
May have been a very large octopus type creature.
Kraken.
Or a colossal squid.
Kraken.
These things actually exist.
Kraken.
Let me finish. If you say kraken one more time, with long tentacles that can reach up onto the boat and grab the crew members and whoop, whoop, whoop. So, colossal squids exist.
Giant squids.
Colossal.
Colossally giant.
They're bigger than giant. They're colossal.
No, squids are massive. It's crazy.
And they have been known to grow up to lengths of like 50 feet.
Yeah, they're big.
And colossal squids, their limbs have sharp hooks on them.
Like a kraken.
As well as like the sucky tentacles.
Krakens are literally just colossal squids.
So their limbs are, if you're watching on YouTube, you will see me do a description. I am the super colossal squid. This is their limb. They have hooks. And they also have the sucky things, but the sucky things are hooks. So
wait, the suction cups are hooks?
They're suctions and hooks. And they're really long.
I'm just going to Google a picture of a colossal squid.
They're very scary.
I'll put a picture of it on the YouTube video.
They're very scary. So creatures like this they also have a very, very heavy body. So they got these long limbs and this really heavy body. And creatures like this are deep sea creatures. They are never seen in shallow waters, or if they are, it's very rare. And basically, I watched this video that described that these creatures become so large because they live so deep in the water that their metabolism is different and their cell structure is different, and it enables them to grow bigger and sustain this huge body. It's actually quite cool, but if you're scared of water, like myself, do not look at videos because these creatures are very scary. So the squid would have very easily been able to wrap its little hook tentacles around all the way around the boat.
I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, they got the hooks.
Who would win in a fight, giant squid or colossal squid? That's what this article asks.
Colossal squid. Colossal squid.
The colossal squid is bigger.
And it has hooks.
They're basically the same animal, but one is bigger and more deadly.
Yeah.
They're the same animal, but one is a kraken.
But one has hooks. Anyways. So, like I said, it would have been easy for it to wrap its limbs all the way around the boat. Or to reach up and...
You know what it would not have been easy for it to do?
What?
All that, but leave 0 damage on the boat.
Yeah, they're like, very carefully now.
Let me grab this person.
They're like, come to the edge.
This person, and I'll grab this person.
Come to the edge of the boat so I can grab
let me
you.
grab the lifeboat as well.
Yeah. So, this is another...
If it was going to attack the boat, it would just...
Whoop.
Bam!
Okay, so this is also really interesting. So large deep sea creatures like the colossal squid are known to just engorge themselves at one time. So they...
So would have eaten the boat?
No, they think that they would have eaten the crew members.
That doesn't feel like it's much engorging. I feel like a colossal squid could eat more than 9 people and a baby.
Well, the thing is...
Also, it would have destroyed the boat.
So people think, this is what they think happened. That the squid reaches up, starts grabbing people, eating them, and that the people who are that are like seeing what's going on are like, we gotta get out of here. They get on the lifeboat and they hightail it out of there.
Yeah, here's my thing. I don't think a colossal squid is going to reach up and grab people. I think it's going to tear down the boat. Why would it leave the boat undamaged?
Leave things better than you found them.
It's a squid! It's not a Girl Scout!
Actually, I think this squid was probably around before Daisy Lowe, the founder of the Girl Scouts.
Well, it was 1872, so...
Is that her name?
I don't know.
No, it's not Daisy Lowe.
It's not Daisy Lowe. Daisy Lowe is a fashion model.
Who founded the Girl Scouts?
This giant squid, actually. Colossal squid, sorry.
Let's see. Juliette Gordon Lowe.
You got one of the words, right?
Yeah. And she founded the Girl Scouts. Oh, her nickname was Daisy.
Wow.
I knew it because
Daisy. Where did she found the Girl Scouts?
Juliette Daisy Gordon Lowe founded the first Girl Guide group in 1912. I knew...
After she was taught a life lesson by a colossal squid.
I knew it was Daisy because daisies are the littlest group of Girl Scouts, and they have the blue outfits, and they're really cute.
Let's move on from this dumb theory that doesn't make any sense.
Anyways, if you guys want to hear more about my time as a Girl Scout, keep listening.
It's not a conspiracy, though, so...
It's pretty interesting.
I was
a Girl Scout for 8 years.
It's not that interesting.
So the final theory is that the boat was possessed by some kind of evil spirit that caused the disappearance.
Okay, what happened to the people?
They got possessed to
leave the boat peacefully.
The spirit was like,
just head out.
I would like you all to just...
And why didn't the spirit possess the people who found the boat?
But that's the missed question.
But they stayed on the boat.
I don't know why spirits choose to do what they do.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know this thing.
I don't know.
So some question of whether the ghost of the first captain, who died of pneumonia, haunted the ship after his death. Now...
But only one time?
Well, the boat had a lot of stuff that happened.
That's true.
Like, the boat wasn't like happy trails and then this happened.
Well, most boats, I would say, in the 1800s weren't happy trails.
I wouldn't say a boat now is Happy Trails, truthfully. You know how
Probably.
people go missing on cruise ships? Don't go on cruise ships. You'll go missing. Anyways,
I'll
so
never be able to leave.
or that I don't know what would be worse, honestly. Depending on the size of your room. Here's the thing. I don't know a lot about ghosts because I don't really believe in them. But if you have a lot of ghost knowledge, I've always been under the impression that like people don't become ghosts and then haunt things if they die of like disease or natural causes. I thought that it was more like if they were murdered or if there was some sort of
Also,
tragedy.
why are ghosts always so mean? What beef do they have with random people that
Yeah.
are living in their house? Why do you care if someone's living in your house? You're dead.
Yeah.
Why can't you just hang out peacefully?
Yeah. I mean, unless they like decorate it really ugly or something, I mean, just let them live.
But, I mean, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just never understood the idea why ghosts are so mean.
Maybe they just have a bad reputation.
Maybe they do. Maybe they're not actually mean.
Maybe.
It's media lies.
It's media lies. Maybe ghosts are actually nice. I don't know. I'm just like,
You heard it here first. Maybe ghosts are actually nice.
maybe. Maybe they're just trying to tell you that painting you did,
Hey.
it's not very good.
Don't quit your day job.
They're just trying to give advice.
They're
and
just
you
blunt.
don't
They're
like
not
what they
mean.
have to say.
They're not haunting you. They're blunting you.
Hey, they're just trying to give you life advice, and you don't want to hear what they have to say, so you say they're haunting you. Maybe you should be more receptive to their advice.
Anyway.
Moving along. I
Meh.
don't know about that
Yeah.
one.
It's a big old myth for me.
So the bottom line here, nobody knows what happened. It is 2021 and nobody knows what happened to the people on board. And at this point, nobody
go
probably
ahead.
will know.
Oh, dang. I was going to say, I'll go ahead and say it. I don't think we're finding out.
Good job, E. Good job.
But you said it already, so it doesn't matter.
I'm sorry, E. I'm sorry. And I think the problem here is that we have all these theories. And
No evidence.
they make kind of sense. But then you look at the evidence and you're like, we don't really have any evidence because there was no sign of a struggle. There was nothing wrong with the boat.
Yeah.
And we just have these missing people that we don't really know what happened and don't really have any clues.
Yeah.
But we have theories that kind of partially answer the questions, but don't fill in the missing pieces.
This, like many other, like the Malaysian disappearance. My big thing with any of the theories was like, what happened to the plane? Where's the plane?
Mm-hmm.
Where? This is kind of like, there's the theories answer a question, but they don't answer all of the questions. So it's like, oh, this is why the crew left. It's like, okay, where did they go?
Mm-hmm.
And where, like, or this is the crew all died or whatever. It's like, okay, where are their bodies? Where's the evidence?
So cute.
So it's just, there's no theory that fully answers any of the questions, which is usually the case with conspiracy theories. That's why they're conspiracies and not fact theories.
Not fact theories.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, like, Briggs was a very experienced captain. He was a very experienced sailor. He was knowledgeable about his job. He was knowledgeable about boats.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he had his child and his wife on board. I feel like he wouldn't have evacuated everyone unless he seriously thought something was wrong.
Yeah.
Which leads me to think it falls more in the camp of a miscalculation, that perhaps the sounding rod wasn't working.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the pirate one makes sense until you realize that there was nothing missing.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to sell? A lifeboat? Like,
Yeah.
and it just does, it makes like a little bit of sense, but not enough sense. And I think the only reason Briggs is putting his daughter and his wife on, like, if it was just the crew members, I think that's one thing. But as soon as you bring in the fact that his own family was on the boat as well, like, people will go to great lengths to keep their family out of harm. And he had to have known putting his wife and his daughter on the lifeboat was not going to be safe. So if my only thing is that he thought that there was something majorly wrong with the boat, miscalculation of some sort, and they were lost at sea.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if he would have made it somewhere, he would have gotten in communication and said, like, we're fine. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ethan?
There's two theories that make the most sense to me. One is the insurance scam thing. Because maybe that is kind of why some of the people were, like, unwilling to talk about what happened, because maybe they did some stuff that they didn't want anybody to know about. The other one that, like, I agree, I guess, with the theory that it potentially could have been some sort of equipment error, malfunction, something like that. Because it's like, why else would you leave a perfectly fine boat? Mm-hmm. So, but none of them really are, like, fully answer the question. If I were to lean one way or another, I would say I would lean towards some sort of... Actually, I think I maybe would lean towards the insurance fraud, which didn't even work because they didn't get all the money.
Right. I'm like...
So, that one kind of is a little sketchy.
I'm like, if that was your intention...
My main problem with that one is that the captain, unless the other crew is in on it...
and maybe he wasn't actually friends with him.
Maybe
they were frenemies.
Maybe they had a falling out at their dinner. Before.
Yeah, they were frenemies, and he's like, I'll get him.
So maybe, but maybe. I don't
know. Yeah, I think it's. So this is an interesting one because it's like the lost colony of Roanoke. You're like, what? Literally,
yeah, it's like there's just no evidence. Of
no
what
evidence.
Happened.
Yeah, like people don't just disappear.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, what's so so interesting is like people don't just disappear out of nowhere.
Right.
And this is what happened here. 10 people are disappeared, and nobody knows what happened to them. So, as always, let us know what you guys think. We're really interested to hear, especially with one that's so, I guess, confusing and mysterious as this one. We want to know what you guys think. And if you have any other evidence that maybe backs up a different suggestion that I didn't bring up, we'd love to hear what you think. It's always super interesting.
I feel like people wouldn't have known about this one. This doesn't seem like a big, super popular one.
Yeah.
So hopefully you learned
something.
Such as, every ship has a log.
That's right. And that you should always leave things better than you found them. And on that note, thank you guys for tuning in. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. We will see you back here in 2022.
Will we?
Yeah. We come out every 2 weeks.
Sure. I can't do that math. Merry Chrysler.
Merry Christmas. Bye.